Hello and welcome to my step-by-step beginners foraging workshop, where we learn everything you need to know to get you started. So we will have a look at the foraging laws in the UK and also some guidelines to feel safe and confident. I also prepared a step-by-step guide for you that you can use to identify every plant so you feel safe and confident. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Hi, my name is Xenia and this is the first episode of my foraging workshop series, where we learn everything from plant identification to preparation and recipes. My approach is not to learn as many plants as possible and fill up your basket, but to get to know every plant by itself. Every plant comes with history and often nutritional and medicinal uses. We will only cover plants that are easy to identify and grow in abundance in the UK. So first, let's take a look at the foraging laws in the UK. Foraging is generally legal in the UK. The Countryside Act allows foraging for the 4 Fs from common land as long as it's purely for personal consumption. The 4 Fs include fruit, foliage, flora and fungus. So you're allowed to forage moderate amounts for you and your family. Foraging for commercial purposes is not allowed. Always stay on public land or ask for permission before venturing onto private property. To check if you're on public land, you can download the OS map. Public areas and open access land will be marked with a yellow border. Don't uproot any plant, because the plants won't grow back. Stay away from restricted areas and all sites of special scientific interest. These places will have endangered species like butterflies, orchid, or even very seldom mushrooms. Next to these laws, there are also some guidelines you should know. The main 4 foraging guidelines are forage safe, clean, responsible, and respectful. So let's go through them one by one. The golden rule for every forager is, if in doubt, leave it out. Never nibble or consume a plant if you're not 100% sure of its identification. You should double check with 3 reliable sources, and one of them should be a field guide, and never use the app for identification. A lot of plants are inedible and some are even deadly poisonous. So keep in mind, if in doubt, leave it out. And don't pick first and research later. Ensure you know what you're picking, otherwise you might pick endangered or rare species. Make sure you have the right equipment with you and don't forage in dangerous places such as cliffs or roadsides. The next rule is to forage clean. This also means to stay away from dog walking areas, roadsides, or edges of non-organic agricultural fields. Make sure you wash everything before you consume it. Forage responsibly, and this includes also not to take more than you need. Only choose plants that are abundant. As a good rule, take maximum 10% of what's there. If you introduce other people to plants, show them how to identify them properly and introduce them to the guidelines as well. You should never let children forage unsupervised. The last point here is to forage respectfully. This rule is about respect. Respect for the plant, for the area, for the animals, the people and people's property. It includes an awareness of the habitat. For example, you should never trample anything down to get to a plant. In short, leave no trace. You might also find your own way to show respect. Maybe you show some gratitude in form of litter picking or volunteering in local nature reserves. Please leave your idea in the comments and let me know some good ways of showing respect while foraging. So let's dive into our step-by-step foraging guide. I've listed 3 easy to follow steps here. Research, identification and preparation. The first step is research. Find a plant that is in season, easy to identify and comes with a delicious recipe. Check out our description below and download my foraging calendar. All the plants I listed there are easy to identify and grow in abundance in the UK. Moving on to the second step. Make sure you can identify the chosen plant properly. You need to know all the key characteristics of the plant, including height, habitat, color of the petals, growing patterns and so on. The next step is preparation. We will use a field guide to draw or print an image of the plant. And then you write all important key characteristics next to it. If there are any lookalikes, create another sheet to distinguish them. For beginners and hobbyists, it's advisable to avoid plants with poisonous lookalikes. Now, let's go through an example. We will use our step-by-step foraging guide for stinging nettles. It's an easy to identify plant with many good recipes. The first step is research. So I found out that nettles are full of nutrition and they have some medicinal properties as well. They don't have any poisonous or inedible lookalikes, just edible ones like dead nettles. It's recommended to only harvest the top of the plant so they can regrow. Nettle leaves are only good when they're young. Once they're in flower, they shouldn't be consumed anymore. You can also take your time and read up on all nutritional and medicinal properties of stinging nettle. Here's a drawing I prepared with all key characteristics. And another one for the 2 kinds of dead nettles. I will need scissors, a basket and gloves. And here's a picture of my nettle pesto. We've already emphasized not to eat anything unless you're 100% sure of its identification. However, it's equally important to familiarize yourself with the main poisonous plants in the UK. Deadly nightshade, monk's hood and foxgloves. Deadly nightshades is one of the most poisonous plants in the world, by the way. Just a little fact. In the next slide, you can see lily of the valley, lords and ladies, and the yew tree. Lords and ladies and lily of the valley can look like some edible plants like white garlic. So it's especially important to be able to identify them. Last but not least, let's have a look at the carrot family. The carrot family has both edible and poisonous plants. However, it's important to note that this family contains some of the most poisonous plants in England. My suggestion is to stay away from this family until you're really confident. All plants of the carrot family have compound umbels, which means the flowers grow in clusters that look like umbrellas, and all these little clusters look like a big umbrella. I hope that makes sense. This is giant hogweed, water hemlock, and poison hemlock. The giant hogweed is most important to recognize. It grows all over the countryside and you should never even touch it because its sap can cause a chemical burn. And there you have it, a step-by-step guide for responsible foraging. In our next workshop, we will learn how to use a field guide and prepare a plant identification chart together. But before you run off to watch another video, I love to hear from you. What ideas do you have for giving back to nature? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's start the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, please give me the old thumb up. I recommend clicking one of these videos here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!